all new Wednesday. Back-to-back losses puts American top team on edge.
This thing's this close to blowing up.
But a shocking twist at the weigh-in
He doesn't even make weight.
jeopardizes everything.
You get 1 hour to make the weight.
But he can't use this arm. We're in a war right now, no rules.
We'll stand here and barricade the sun.
Barricade what?
I'll stand by my fight.
This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
The Ultimate Fighter, all new Wednesday at 10, only on Fox Sports 1.
Welcome to another edition of the Bookie Beatdown TUF 21 Fantasy Breakdowns. Episode 3 is in the books, and obviously the big story coming out of all of this, besides Paul Shaughnessy remaining in third place or the top 3 of the overall standings, is the whole altercation with Steve Carl missing weight, ATT being told by the Florida Commission to go and use the Black Zillions change room, Michael Johnson and Tyrone Spong wanting nothing to do with that. Tyrone Spong going in, terrifying everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Except for, I thought somebody was gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
Except for Nathan Coy. Nathan Coy got up in his face, and good on him, man. I gained a lot of respect for that guy right in that moment because, like, everybody, you could see, if anyone goes back and watches that episode, you see, like, Graves, like, quick little shots of the people in studio, and they're just like, oh, God. Oh, God, I don't like what's happening right now.
They would have had to all jump on him at the same time and hope that the 5-on-1 can take him out.
At the end of the day, I guess Carl, they got him out of there, but Carl had already been in there, I suppose, long enough to cut the weight, or, they cut away. Either way, Carl makes weight, fights Valdir Araujo, and Carl looked real flat. Maybe he was drained from the weight cut, or maybe he just choked under the bright lights. The bright lights, that is the TUF Black Zillions gym. But obviously, Valdir Araujo comes away with the first finish of the season here. Scores 30 points for that. Also, earlier in the episode, Valdir Araujo says bro and has language censored. Why? Because somebody, namely Michael Graves, has been stealing his wine.
Don't be stealing his wine, man.
No, not on fight week either. And the guy's trying to look for his wine, get himself ready. It's either drown your sorrows after a defeat or celebrate a victory, right?
Stealing somebody's personal item inside the house for future seasons should count as something. You steal someone's meal, or you steal their wine in this case, or their shirt. I remember one season they're like, "Who's stealing my promotional stuff?" Like UFC gave him hats and stuff. Somebody was just taking it home.
It's like, oh, my friend, this will be a great Christmas present.
I'm probably not going to make it to the UFC, so I'm going to get as much of this stuff as I can.
Exactly. So, obviously Valdir Araujo came away with 40 points because of all of that. We were speaking about Graves. Graves was visibly drunk on camera when they were playing poker with each other at the table there. He had a body part blurred out because he gave the camera the finger, I believe, or he gave whoever was questioning him the finger. And he had his language censored, as we have come to learn that basically the most likely points you're going to get is to have your language censored.
Yeah,
so huge week for him. 35 points in a situation where he didn't even have a fight. So.
Well, definitely, and it's going to help out because it doesn't seem like he could definitely have a fight as the season progresses, but it almost seems like the other guys in the team are not questioning his poor dietary habits, which was very close. We had to discuss if Sabah Homasi had talked about that when he points out that he's been drinking a lot, but ultimately not good enough. But the fact is, I think the ATT, they look at it and they're like, oh, this guy's drinking, this guy's partying, he's mentally checked out, he didn't look all that good in his first fight, why put him back in there? So if he's just going to hang out on the sidelines, then yes, this could be definitely
if he was hammering beers and then he really liked getting like cheeseburgers or something, and then there was like he's drinking, he's not, he's making bad choices, then I would be like, okay, well he's eating a greasy cheeseburger at the same time. Just drinking, straight up drinking. I don't think it's enough for poor dietary habits.
And poor dietary habits, I believe, loses you points. Well, pointing it out would score you some points. So Sabah Homasi would have gotten the points. In this case, it's like, it doesn't really score him well. But what I find for Graves is this is a guy that, like as you mentioned, did not fight. This episode was not really centered around him, although he stole the wine, and that was really the only bit that he had. But he was able to score good points in that little airtime. Now, flip side of that, you got Steve Carl, a guy that, going into the show, most people picked him. He's on my team. Most of the teams that sent in a roster, they had picked him out of their first bracket. He doesn't really have much personality.
Nope.
He doesn't talk a whole lot to the camera. He's very quiet, and he looked extremely flat in that fight. And a good point was aroused in the house that ATT sent two very young rookies in their first 2 fights, Michael Graves and Euros. 2 guys that, combined had less than 10 fights. They lost both those fights. So not that they panicked, but you could tell they were almost like, we need to send in one of the vets. Steve, you're one of our best guys. You go in. So he probably wasn't fully prepared. So that's why he struggled with the weight. And I don't know if he looks so flat because of the weight cut. I don't know if he looks so flat because Valdir Araujo matches up terribly against him. The fact that if I can't take this guy down, and he has a good guillotine choke. And the thing is, the trick to building Valdir, his chin. They mentioned that. He's got a weak chin. If you hit him, he's going down. Steve Carl, not a power puncher. So it just wasn't a good stylistical fight for him. And the fact is that he scored virtually no points in this episode at 10 points.
10 points,
It's an episode where you're fighting. Typically, those are when you're going to get Usman talking about God, talking about his family. 10 points, and this is your episode. Very disappointing for Steve Carl owners, including myself.
10 points. Those come from being shirtless in a normal human area. He's looking out at the Black Zillions.
Lucky 5
in
points.
his bedroom. Yeah, very lucky 5 points, because that is the exact type of moment that usually gets left on the cutting room floor, right? Yeah. And then language censored. The one thing for Steve Carl owners like myself that we can hope is maybe he pulls a Graves here and he just starts drowning his sorrows away.
I
my
don't
hopes.
think that's the case, but what I definitely do think is that he didn't really take a whole lot of damage in this fight, so I don't think it's crazy to think that they'll say, okay, Steve, spend the next week or two, get your weight back down, recover a little bit, we're going to throw you back in there. So I fully expect to see Steve Carl fight again at some point during the season.
I just hope he just drowns a few sorrows away. Just
and then fights and wins.
Just
So
a
that'd
little.
be great.
We need a bit of a bounce back episode next one. Obviously, a guy who usually, I suppose he had a week 2. He had a bit of an off episode. We had Sabah Homasi, who we have coined, saying bro, being shirtless in a normal human area, and language censored as the Homasi trifecta.
Oh yeah,
That is forever enshrined, or at least this season at least. He is the guy who is pretty much a shoo-in to get all 3 of those. It's 2 of the 3 episodes he's done that. He hasn't fought, but he doesn't even get that much screen time. But when he's in there, he's shirtless, he's cursing, and he's saying bro. So good times all around.
They might show him for 5 seconds, and he's just like, F that, bro, without a shirt on. And it's like 15 points, the Homasi trifecta. He's killing in that. And we said this before the season started. Like, you're looking for those type of guys who could be like,
consistent.
Hey, he might not win his fight. Sabah Homasi 8-4 was not one of the blue chip prospects on the show. Was just an okay fighter, but he's definitely proving his worth right now.
And let's just quickly run through the rest of the scores here. Kamaru Usman, being shirtless in a normal human area, 5 points. Nathan Coy, language censored, 5 points. Dan Lambert, 5 points, language censored. Jason Jackson as well, 5 points, language censored. And Steve Montgomery, language censored. Steve Montgomery looks like he's in quite a bit of trouble, at the end of the episode, they gave us that teaser. He looks like he's having a seizure or something.
However,
he's foaming at the mouth.
During his seizure, he's foaming at the mouth. Might be able to get some puking points.
We're going to have to really...
I hope he is okay. I hope I don't.
Of course, but we're going to have to inspect that situation when it happens.
Yes.
To see whether it's a legitimate puke, which would be a minus 10 points. Very sadly. It would be pretty rough to take minus 10 points away from somebody in that situation.
Well, it'd be rough if he throws up, loses the 10 points, and then gets kicked off the show due to medical reasons. That would kill one Paul Shaughnessy, who loves bragging about being in the top 3 again.
Which brings me to my next point. Let's look at... All right, well, let's not brag about me quite yet. Week 2, top 3 scores. We've got Jim Gunn with 100 points. Good work,
Big
Jim.
week for Jim.
We had a bunch of people tied. A lot of people with Valdir Araujo and Steve Carl and Sabah Homasi. A lot of people scored a lot of points this week, actually. It was a good one. Jim Gunn, 100 points. We've got a tie between Peter Gilbertson and XA. It's the only way I know how to refer to this guy.
At least he didn't mispronounce it, though.
Yeah, exactly. And then third place, we got a tie between Sean McCormick, Colin Mina, Ryan Rauch, and Jeff Boyd.
Jeff Boyd he's making his way up the ranking standings. I like it.
And then the overall, I just want to put this out there. There's only one person in this whole pool who has been in the overall top 3 every single week.
Who is it? Is it Mark Amphivanasuk?
It's the guy who's in.
It's Paul Shaughnessy.
It's the guy who's in third place here. We've got first place. We got Peter Gilbertson with 210 points. Jim Gunn 205 points.
That's good.
And I would say the most consistent team of all, and probably the team to beat at this point in the season. Everybody else is getting lucky. I just stay the course. So Paul Shaughnessy in third place, holding it down with 200 points, looking for big things next week as well. I think we touched all the bases there. Actually, I wanted to quickly ask you think Tyrone Spong's going to make it to the octagon soon?
You know what? There was a time where I was like, he doesn't really have the experience. But what you're starting to realize now is they just need stars.
No, exactly.
The fact is he has a World Series of Fighting contract, but it seems to be kind of easy to get out of those. Everybody's doing it now these days. So Spong, in the foreseeable future, definitely could make his way around and hopefully fight somebody bigger than Nathan Coy.
See, they had him on Fox Sports like right after the event for TUF Talk and all of that other stuff. So he has a good personality, he's clean cut, and he had a good camera presence. So I can totally see them being like, they watch him over the course of this season, and he ends up on the TUF finale. Yeah. But he has all these plans to go into boxing as well.
And here's one quick takeaway from that as well, is that when he fights in kickboxing, he fights the absolute best guys. But now when he comes to MMA, they don't want him to fight the best guys, so they feed him, for the most part, cans in his MMA career. Now you look at his boxing career, and his management team kept saying, like, oh, don't worry, he's going to fight somebody credible. He's going to fight somebody credible. The guy he fought was like 11-35, and Tyrone Spong obviously knocked him out. So the fact is, I think they're trying to build him up. They're trying to get him some more skills. And in the UFC, if you're CM Punk and you don't really have a background and you're an older guy, they're going to give you some cans. But Tyrone Spong, they're not going to do that for him. If he does come to the UFC, he's going to fight somebody good. And, there's a lot of guys that are kryptonite for him. But that being said, he's one of the best strikers in the world. He's clearly very intimidating, and a guy that trains very, very hard, has good training partners. So I would love to see him in the near future. 205 could definitely use the help.
You look at this Philippines card this weekend, and
Tyrone Spong
Tyrone Spong would add a lot of life to this card, to be honest. The problem is he probably wants a lot of money, and it would be a kind of a juggling act how much the UFC would be willing to pay and how much he wants. But I hope to see the King of the Ring in the octagon in the very near future. But that's all the time that we have for now. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftik, our director Chase Kaiser, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying good luck out there.